Hi there everyone, and welcome back to the first of a Gen 2 Solo Run challenge on this channel. I've been getting kind of sick of doing just Gen 1 runs, so I thought it was about time to expand up to the other generations. And where else to start but at Gen 2, and that's where we're going to start today. So, we are going to introduce the rules right now, and then we'll crack on with the spin of the wheel, choose our Pokemon, and get started on the run. So, the rules are, we let the wheel decide. I can only use that Pokemon in any battle. And that pretty much means like I can only hit with that Pokemon. But if I need to switch out for some reason, I guess I'll leave that up to you guys whether that's allowed. Thirdly, I can't heal in battle. Completely not allowed. Fourth rule, I can't use the badge boost glitch. In Gen 2 actually isn't a thing, so to be fair, I can get rid of that rule really. 5, I can use TMs and HMs because with some Pokemon that's probably the only way I can get through these runs. Number 6, no double team. But I am going to put one clause on this rule. I can only use double team if it's a level up move. I can't teach it as a TM HM move. And that'll make the runs a bit harder, but if they learn it via level up, I feel like that's fair game. With the rules out the way, let's get on with the next spin of the wheel. Okay, so now we've got the rules out the way, let's get the first spin of my Gen 2 randomizer on the way. And first up we have Pokemon 193, which is Yanma. That's going to be a hard run. Let's see if we get second. Elekid? You know what? The introduction of baby Pokemon will make this interesting. Okay, what we get third? Third up is Ferret. You know what? I'm feeling the challenge today. I think Yanma's going to be the hardest Pokemon. Let's go with that. Right, now we've chosen Yanma on the wheel, let's get started with our very first Gold and Silver Solo Run challenge. And I've got to be honest, I am really excited for this one. Considering when I was growing up, Red and Blue, Gold and Silver were the generations that I played the most. But playing it as a solo run wasn't actually something I actually did in Gen 2. I only really did that in Gen 1. So what I'm learning throughout these Gold and Silver runs is everything. Pretty much kind of like the same thing I've been learning for Pokemon Red and Blue. It's learning where all the items are, the quickest routes to do this. So I'm not imagining that Yanma is going to be the quickest run for a solo run. Someone who's literally never done a solo run in Gen 2 before, but yeah, we'll get started with it. So I've used the Universal Pokemon Randomiser to be able to change my starter, and that means that we're going to have Cyndaquil as the rival's Pokemon, which is going to be the harder choice to battle against. But while we're talking about this, let's talk about Yanma itself. In terms of its base stats, it's got a total of 390, which isn't great. So its best stat is its speed at 95. Its worst is its defense and special defense, because now we're in Gen 2. Special's been split out into special attack and special defense. And this does create a bit of a problem. By both defensively, we are weak to both physical and special, so we've really not got the easiest time with Yanma. The other annoying thing about Yanma as well is its move pool. And if you've ever done a Yanma solo run, it is garbage. Absolute garbage. At level 1 we start off with Tackle and Foresight. Awful moves. Absolutely awful moves. And in terms of its level up, it only gets one other move that isn't normal, and that's Detect at level 25. So not the greatest moveset at all, which means we're going to have to rely heavily on our TM and HM move pool. Thankfully, we can beat the first rival okay, I guess, but we're going to start seeing extremely quickly how bad Yanma actually is. So I didn't even go straight to Falconer, I went straight to Sprout Tower to get more experience, because we are weak to Falconer's Pokemon. And there was an interesting strategy I was forming in my mind. Back when I started playing this, I never used the move Foresight, because I always had other Pokemon that could hit the likes of Ghost Pokemon. But I learned just from doing this one playthrough actually that Foresight in the early game was the game changer that actually made the run possible. So what Foresight does, basically, if you are a ghost Pokemon and you've had Foresight cast upon you, it actually means that normal type moves can hit you, which means we actually can get past the Ghastly in Azalea Town. But we don't really need it for Falkner. What we actually needed for Falkner, because we are weak to flying type moves, we just pretty much need to be around about level 13 to make the battle consistent. Now I know in my rule set, I do not like using double team. The one reason I am using it with Yanma is because it actually learns it via level up. And in that very small circumstance, you can tell me whether that's cheating or not, but I thought considering it actually learned it via level up, it was okay to use in this run. And God, trust me, it became absolutely crucial in some fights. After a lot of battering on his bird Pokemon, we managed to beat Falkner, but I could only do this at level 13. I tried it at level 11, level 12. I just wasn't getting anything consistent, so I had to do it at level 13. That was the lowest level I could possibly get through it with. And thanks to that, we actually... this is why we got double team, because Yanma in itself actually does not even learn Mud Slap. So the reason why I'm showing you this trainer in the tunnel here between Azalea and Violet Sea, Violet Town, Violet Sea, I can't remember which one of the two it is because we don't have that coverage of moves. So that means that we're going to have to rely on such terrible normal moves to get through this. And this is why double team I feel was acceptable to use on this run. Because we, if we didn't use it, we would pretty much get one-shotted by that. Well, not one-shotted, but we'd get taken out by a level 4 Geodude. But because we can use double team, we can actually give ourselves a bit of insurance. And double team is not as broken in Gen 2 as it is in Gen 1. Badge boost glitch isn't a thing in the same likes as it is in Gen 1. The badge boost glitch in Gen 2, well, it doesn't really apply. You get badge boosts off certain gym leaders, for certain also types of Pokemon as well. They get a little boost to the stats. But the brokenness of the Gen 1 badge boost glitch does not really exist in Gen 2. Now, before we even get to Azalea Town, I accidentally ran into Hiker Anthony. And considering he's got a level 11 Geodude, we lost pretty quickly. So I didn't really want to fight him, so I had to wait and just try and sneak around him. Thankfully we did there. And we also picked up Swift in the cave. Moving on to the Slowpoke well, I went into this battle poisoned, which wasn't the greatest thing, but I'm trying to save as much time as I can. And as you can see over the course of this battle, I just get terrible luck. The poison whittles down my HP, I can't do enough damage, and eventually Smog takes us out. On the next try though, different story. The Coffin doesn't really hit us that much, so we can just use Swift and we can kind of whittle it down its HP. And because it's missing us quite a bit, Swift eventually does take it out, and Smog is a terrible move. I'm glad I'm not doing a Coffin run in Gen 2. I am only doing Pokemon that were introduced in Gen 2. So we've beaten the Slowpoke well. I actually don't think Bugsy is going to be much of a problem. We are resistant against bug type moves. And because of his Metapod and Cocoon, we actually have a chance to set up quite comfortably with Double Team. That gives us a bit more insurance when we're going against the Cypher. The annoying thing is though, with us using Double Team so much, we give him a chance to use Harden, which means that it's going to take more Swifts to take him down. Thankfully we do get a critical hit to take out that one. Kakuna comes out, and it's going to be a free hit KO to take down that Kakuna. Ooh, we nearly got poisoned there by Poison Sting, which would not have helped us in this battle. Move up to level 18, and we'll finally see how we do against the Cypher. This is the first attempt against Bugsy as well. And he doesn't get his moves connecting, we aren't taking damage, and we can just gradually take down his HP with Swift. Best thing about Swift, always hits. Doesn't matter what your accuracy is, it will always hit. So in the early game, when you've not got very many moves to choose from, it's quite crucial to actually winning. But here's the reason why we've kept Foresight for this long. you'll see here, by identifying the Pokemon after a couple of double teams, we can actually then hit that Ghastly with the likes of Quick Attack. If we didn't have Foresight here, honestly, I'd probably have said at this point the run was impossible, completely impossible. But because of Foresight, we actually have a move that can get us through the battle. Level 19, I really should have taught it Sonic Boom here, but Quick Attack arguably would do more as we level up, so I want to keep that for a little bit longer. Quilava comes out, uses Smoke Screen and fails, which is good because to be fair, even if it had hit, we have Swift, but I'm very lucky that it didn't use more Embers. The AI in Gen 2 is definitely better than Gen 1. They will use more effective moves. They won't just randomly use some moves like as some of the AIs in Gen 1 do. And we actually beat the rival first time, which I was not expecting. Moving on to Goldenrod though, we come against Whitney, one of the hardest gym leaders arguably in most generations. And it's not because of the Clefairy. The Clefairy is relatively quite easy. As long as Metronome doesn't hit with something ridiculous like Explosion, you can usually get through it quite easily. With Double Team though, we can actually do a lot more damage, and we did pick up Headbutt in Ilex Forest. So that means we've actually got a chance to flinch as well. Once we've got Double Team set up, we can just either use Swift or we can use Headbutt, hope for the flinch chance, annoyingly roll out hits there. We've got to make sure it misses. It does, thankfully. If it hit us there, we'd have lost, and we get the flinch, so we actually can get past Whitney. But I had to be level 24 for that to happen. This took quite a few attempts. Honestly, it really did take quite a few attempts. And we're not even going to learn Detect at level 25. It just, in my opinion, Protect, yeah, it could be good if you're against the likes of a Slacking, but that's Gen 3. And Detect could as well work in the same vein, but I just didn't see much need for it in this run when I was looking through all of the data, all the stats, all the moves that I could possibly use. Yeah, I just didn't see much point in using it. When we moved on to Morty, as you've seen there, once we got hit by Curse, I decided to reset. Because there is no way in hell, and I tried this, God, about 10 to 15 times against Morty. If he hits Curse on you, battle's over. Completely over, because you cannot beat him within 4 turns, because each turn you have to set up Foresight to be able to hit his Pokemon. And he had 3 Pokemon left at that point, so that would have been a total of 6 turns, would have been completely impossible. We have to just hope for good RNG against his Pokemon though, and that means we can actually get through and be able to even complete the battle. I can tell you, this was the only time I managed to get to the final Haunter, and it still took me down to 32 health. But in the end, we actually do beat Morty at level 34. A little bit higher than I was expecting that I'd be at this point, but considering the move pool we've got, it just didn't make any sense to not level up a bit more. Instead of going over to Olivine City, I actually went over to do Mahogany Town. So we going against the Gyarados. If it had used more than one Dragon Rage here, we actually would have lost against the red Gyarados. We go around, we meet up with Lance. He tells us about the rocket plot, and then we go and see him kill someone with Hyper Beam, which I always found hilarious as a kid. That's his most powerful dragon Pokemon, and he's just used Hyper Beam on an innocent bystander. I say innocent, it's a rocket, so that's controversial. Moving through the hideout, getting up to the executive, not much of a problem whatsoever because of the amount of trainers, random Pokemon. We did go against literally every Pokemon on the hidden tiles just to be able to get the levels, because Gen 2 is notorious for low level Pokemon and leveling up. It's very difficult. We go and kill a few Electrodes, and I thought this might take a little while, but used Self-Destruct, didn't do much damage. We managed to get through quite quickly, and we've killed all the Electrodes. Moving on to that, I could actually go over to Cyanwood, but I'd thought, I'm over in Mahogany Town, let's beat Price. So Price is technically the 7th gym leader in Gen 2, but in my opinion, he's worse than both Chuck and Jasmine. he is a bit of a joke, considering he's the 7th gym leader and his highest level Pokemon's level 31. So we're at level 40 here. We're actually on quite low health because we are weak to ice. And the Piloswine comes out. Piloswine. I always said Piloswine when I was a kid. And unfortunately Blizzard knocks us out. So it's not impossible to lose him at this level, as we can see. But it's very possible to beat him as well. So we set up a couple of double teams. Aurora Beam keeps hitting. And after about 5 double teams, he's basically not hitting us very much anymore. Annoyingly, our attack does get lowered, so it's going to take us a few more hits to take out the Pokemon. Headbutt takes out the Seal in 2 hits, even after all the attack drops we've had. Dugong's going to be about a 3 hit KO. 3, maybe 4 at this range. Yeah, it's going to be about 4. And because of the double teams we set up, we actually had a chance to win here. But the run ended last time was Piloswine. Let's see how many times it takes. This time Blizzard misses again. And we've got to switch to Thief. I picked that up in the Rocket Hideout just for a bit of move coverage. When we get to Will in the Elite Four, Thief is going to be absolutely crucial for the Psychic types. We move over to using Swift instead, and it's going to be around about a 5 to 6 hit KO. But we do get a critical hit. It is a speedy Pokemon, but in this generation, I will have to double check this, but I don't think the speed dictates your crit rate. I think they've got set crit rates per Pokemon. But once we've beaten Price, we can move on to Chuck. And honestly, I thought Chuck would be a lot harder than Price, but we get Flinch on the Primeape, take it down in 2 headbutts. Poliwrath comes out, and it's going to be about a 3 hit KO, but we do get put to sleep, which is not good. And he has used Mind Reader, and Dynamic Punch hits. We're resistant against it though, so he does 10 damage, and I'm very confident we're going to win. We win with a critical hit. We do get quite a lot of critical hits on this run, I will be completely honest with you. But as easy as Chuck was, Jasmine is nowhere near easy. We start off the battle at level 44, and you'll start to see the biggest problems with Jasmine. She has 2 Magnemites and a Steelix. We are weak to Thunderbolts, we're weak to electric attacks. And 2 Thunderbolts takes us down even with all those double teams set up. So I had to change on my strategy here. And the key to winning this one, and this strategy really annoys me because it is so inconsistent. You really have to hope for good RNG. We had to use Swagger. And just hope we didn't get hit, and then it hits itself in confusion. Basically, if you get paralyzed in this battle, the match is over. You will lose because you can't outspeed the Steelix, and it does ridiculous amounts of damage. Even taking out one of the Magnemites with a Yanma is really, really difficult. You just really have to hope that all the RNG and all the luck in the world goes your way. Thankfully, in this attempt, it does. We get Flinch there, and 2 headbutts taken out after it's hit itself with confusion. But here comes the big boy, Steelix. We miss the first Swagger and get hit by Rock Throw, and it takes off half of our HP. This is not looking good whatsoever. It does hit itself in confusion, but as you can see, because of Steelix's high defense, it still does not do very much whatsoever. We've got to hope that it stays confused. We've got to get the flinches, and as we can continue increasing its attack, eventually the confusion damage will do a lot more than our headbutt actually will, and eventually it takes itself out with confusion damage. I'll be completely honest with you guys, this took 30 attempts. 30 attempts to get the right RNG, and I really wanted to find a strategy that was consistent, but with the move pool we've got, it just wasn't. It really, really wasn't. So sometimes when you're doing solo runs, instead of trying to get a consistent strategy, it's better to just take the win and run with it. Moving on, we have to do the rocket section of the game now. And we're level 50 by this point. We have massively over leveled. There's not many Pokemon I'm imagining I'll be level 50 to do this section of the game with. But it's just how it's played out so far. This is my very first solo run in Gold and Silver, so I don't know where everything is off by heart right now. I'm going to have to learn this as I go along. And it's a nice little break of this part of the game. It'd be kind of boring to show you all the footage of going through every single rocket. So I'm only going to show you in this video the main ones in this. This rocket, before you even go into the basement, it's got 6 Pokemon, so it's quite a lengthy battle. And generally, if you're mashing it, each turn takes around about 3 seconds, around about. So if you think you've got to hit them twice, and then the 6 Pokemon, you're looking a couple of minutes just for this battle alone. And if you try and do this in the best time, yeah, it's not going to help very easy. Next up is the rival in the underground. And I was surprised at how well this first attempt went against him. He starts off with a Golbat, so we go for the Swagger strats. And he hits himself in confusion. So I try to chance it by setting up a few double teams, and we get confused ourselves. And luckily, we don't hit ourselves in confusion the first 2 times. First 3 times now. But he keeps hitting himself in confusion. And Headbutt finally takes him out. We've now got 4 Pokemon left, and the dreaded Magnemite comes out. So we're going to have to do the same as we did against Jasmine, Swagger, and hit and hope, pretty much. It's going to be a 2-hit KO. His Magnemites are weaker than Jasmine's as well. They were level 31, Jasmine's. His is level 28, so it's a little bit easier and we get through without taking any damage. Quilava's up next, though, and at this point in the game it does have Flame Wheel. So if we get hit by Flame Wheel, you can pretty much guarantee that might be a 1-hit KO, or at least about 75% of our damage. I don't have a damage calculator, nor do I know how to be able to even figure that out, and we just got to keep going for it. One reason why we've picked up Thief as well, it's super effective against Ghost types and Psychic types, so we don't need Foresight anymore, and we can save ourselves a turn, especially when we've been hit by Curse. Sneasel is quite weak defensively, so 1 Headbutt takes it out, and we can move on to the final executive for the Rocket section of the game. And the more annoying thing about this battle is he starts off with a Houndour, he has a Coffin, and then he has a Houndoom. If we get hit once by that Houndoom, we're pretty much done. So we've got to... I'm pretty much hoping right now that the Houndoom will get taken out via Swagger and Headbutt strats. Annoyingly, it uses Ember, takes down to 4 HP, and we get burned. So we've got to make this hit count. We don't even do half, so we do lose this attempt. Going into it again, though, if we don't get burned, I think we can actually do this quite easily. The reason why we didn't do much damage on the Houndoom is because when you get burned, it cuts your attack down, which is a weird mechanic. I haven't actually figured out, I could think of some logical reason why it has to happen, but yeah, when you get burned, your attack goes well down. So we don't get burned this time. We've used Swagger on it, hits itself confusion, and 1 Headbutt's going to take it out from there. So we clinch by, but it's still possible. And we didn't even start that battle with full HP. So if you thought Jasmine was going to be a hard matchup for Yanma, you probably forgot about Claire. So Claire's team consists of 3 Dragonairs and then a Kingdra. And just like with the Jasmine battle, if you get paralysed, this run is over for you. You can't outspeed them, you don't have the advantage. And if you can't hit your Swaggers, again, you're going to lose this battle. I did get very lucky getting through to this Dragonair, and then it uses Ice Beam, we get fully paralysed, we managed to hit the Swagger, but that paralysis just keeps taking us down. Next up is Kingdra, he uses Surf, we hit the Swagger, hits itself confusion, and I'm thinking, you know what, can I get lucky here? It gets down to the minimum health, and then she uses Hyper Potion. I hate it when they use retroactive potions, but it's part of the game. One thing I haven't actually mentioned up until now, I know this is a mechanic in Gen 2, but I really like Gen 1, the fact that you don't have held items in Gen 1. It does give you an advantage to have a held item, but I want to play this as bare bones as I can. So Yanma is the only one that can be used in battle, and I do not equip held items. So I'm giving myself even more of a disadvantage. So when you've watched other people do Gen 2 runs, they are using held items. Their levels are probably going to be a lot lower than mine at the end point. Eventually we do beat Claire and we move on to Victory Road. The Sneasel goes down with 1 headbutt. Golbat's going to be a 2-hit. And next up's the Magneton. So we have to hit Swagger. It hits us the first time, we do get paralysed. So this isn't looking like a good attempt. And this time round, we just hang on after that, but we still get hit by Swift. So a lot of Yanma's wins are going to be luck. There is no other way about it. With such a terrible move pool, and the only great moves that it really gets are Solar Beam and Giga Drain, and they're locked in Kanto. You can't get them any time before you beat the Elite Four, so you've got to do what you can with these piddly selection of moves. And trust me, it's not a quick run. I will tell you right now that the end time of this is not quick in terms of in-game time. And it was because of the early game with Yanma, I say mid-game at this point because I would consider late game being Kanto. And it just took absolutely ages to get to this point. So we finally got back to the Golbat. Hits itself with Confusion. Headbutt takes it out. And he's only got 4 Pokemon left. We're at half HP, so this is not looking very good. The Magneton gets confused on the first turn. Fantastic, it hits itself Confusion. I'm going to use Headbutt to take off as much damage as we can, hope for the flinch. And Thunder Wave misses. That is key. That is very key as to us winning that battle. Because that means we can now outspeed the Typhlosion. And as long as Swagger does its thing... Does it? Yes, it hits itself with Confusion. So we've got a chance here. Headbutt's going to do massive damage with a critical hit and we take out the Typhlosion. That means there's only the Haunter and the Kadabra left. Thief is going to do massive damage on the Haunter and it takes it out in 1. Kadabra's going to come out. Does it outspeed us? It doesn't. Thief hits and we win. Level 60 to beat Victory Road rival. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. And thanks to that win, we are now in a position to take on the Elite Four with this terrible move pool, this terrible Pokemon. I love Yanma in Gen 4, but Yanma is an awful Pokemon in the generation it's being introduced. And you can just see there how bad its defenses are. These Pokemon are miles levels below us, nearly 20 levels below us, and taking off half our HP. And Will does have a Jinx with Ice Punch, so we lose the very first attempt against the Elite Four. We didn't even make it past 2 Pokemon. So I went back in with a different outlook on it. Of course, Swagger's been semi-reliable up to this point. We're going to use Double Team again. And we're just going to kind of hope that Swagger and Confusion can take out the Xatu on its own while we set up the Double Team. And after 2 Swaggers, it actually takes itself out. We haven't hit it once ourselves. So we're going to use Swagger against the Jinx. It does have bad defenses, but thankfully this time it goes with Double Slap. We're going to use Double Team one last time. Swagger again to confuse it. And we miss the Lovely Kiss. That's good. So Thief is now going to do quite a lot of damage. We get put to sleep with Lovely Kiss, and we've got to hope we don't get hit here. Swagger confuses it again. It doesn't hit his Double Slap. We haven't got 1 Confusion hit on Jinx there. And move up to level 61. The second Xatu comes out, and Swagger misses. So I'm just going to go for Thief. It's going to do over half damage. Psychic does about a quarter. And we take it out quite comfortably. So there's only Executor left and Slowbro. We're going to Swagger the Executor because it's actually got decent attack. And we get seeded. So this is now a battle against time. Thief is going to do half damage. I don't know with the Leech Seed where we can take it out in 2. We manage it just. Must have been a good damage range, that one. We just kind of got to go for it now. If he hits himself with Confusion, that's good. Let's use Thief. Come on. It's going to be another 2 hits to take it out, maybe. That Confusion Yes. Yes. And we beat Will. So, this is the very first Elite Four member, and already we are struggling. Next up, though, is the weirdest addition to an Elite Four that I can think of. Out of all the Gen 1 like gym leaders, I'm confused that Koga became an Elite Four member when he was only the 5th gym leader in the tiering. So it's kind of confusing why he actually became an Elite Four member, but that doesn't mean that in this generation he is easy. And the main reason for that is because of Crobat. Crobat is incredibly fast. Koga's team is incredibly trolly and keeps using status afflicting moves. So, yeah, we are really struggling with this right now. And I actually contemplated breaking my rule and thinking of cheating a little bit, but you know what? It didn't matter either way. The wing attack took us out, so we had to go again against him. So we're going to swagger the Ariados, and it hits itself Confusion. That's good. This is a good start. So we're going to double team. It's no longer confused, so we're going to use swagger again, raise its attack as high as we can, and hopefully the Confusion damage is going to take it out. So it's used Spiderweb, so we can't switch in Pokemon, which it's a wasted move really. We're not going to switch in any other Pokemon. And gradually we can just keep getting our evasion higher, and then we can take it out with Headbutt. Next up is the Crobat. We have got high evasion now, so we're going to use Swagger. And hopefully it uses Double Team. That's not very good. We still hit with Headbutt. It hits itself with Confusion. If we hit with Headbutt now, yes, we beat the Crobat. So next up is Venomoth. In Gen 1, Sabrina's Venomoth actually caused me quite a lot of problems on some of my runs. To the point where it was just really, really tedious to even face it. Thankfully against Koga though, not much of a problem. But now comes out probably the biggest threat on his team, Fortress. And the reason why this is a massive threat is because of how high its defense is. So we need it to hit itself in Confusion. Headbutt is doing very minimal damage and annoyingly uses Swift. So it is a double-edged sword using Swagger, increasing their attack by 2 points. If they get through the Confusion, it actually means that they're going to do massive damage on us. But we've managed to get through the Fortress. We use Swagger on the Muck, and it hits itself with Confusion. So this is a good start to the last Pokemon. Headbutt is going to do big damage, but it uses Acid Armor. And we're just going to go for the Headbutt and finally beat Koga. That was a long battle, but Koga is known for being very trolly. And now everybody's least favourite Elite Four member, we have Bruno. And you know what? For one of the first times in a while, I'm actually going to talk about Bruno. In Gen 1, he's a massive joke. Generally, you've got a move that can take out all of his Pokemon quite easily. Gen 2 is a different matter. He's actually upped his ante a little bit. But with the strategy we've got right now, it should be okay. Unless, of course, he uses Rock Slide when swaggered. Yeah, we lost to Bruno. But I will not lose again on this run to him. So we set up the Swagger strats, we set up the double team, and just let the Hitmontop take down its own HP. Headbutt is not doing very much damage, our attack is actually pretty abysmal, and Thief is actually going to be the better option here because it's a special move. Hitmonchan's going to hit itself with Confusion, Headbutt takes it down, it's got quite bad defences. Machamp is always going to be a problem with Bruno, but thankfully it only hits itself with Confusion and we're onto the Hitmonlee. Swagger strats goes in our favour and we take down his entire team at half HP. I can't believe that I've got to this point and I've lost to every Elite Four member at least once. So Hopefully Karen is going to be a different story. Of course not. Karen is one of the harder Gen 2 Pokemon for a Yanma solo run. And that comes down to a Umbreon right at the start and then a Houndoom immediately after. Umbreon has got great defences, and if you haven't set up your double teams, Houndoom is going to use Flamethrower and decimate you. So, yeah, we're going to have to think of something different here. And basically it comes down to is getting that confusion on the Umbreon, hoping for good RNG, which I hate having to rely on, but making sure it does not use Sand Attack on us. Because for some reason this Umbreon level 42 still has Sand Attack. These Elite Four members have actually thought about their movesets a bit more. We get a lucky flinch on the Houndoom, and she uses a retroactive max potion. We swagger the Gengar and use Thief to take it out quite comfortably. We didn't get the paralysed by Lick there, which is great. Murkrow's got terrible defences, so it's going to go down to 2 headbutts. Then Vileplume comes out, we nearly take it out in 1, but a Thief takes it out after that. And again, I'll be honest with you guys, that took me about 10 attempts. That genuinely took me 10 attempts with a Yanma at this level. Tell you what takes you even more attempts though, is getting through Lance. So, Lance's Gyarados is hands down the hardest Pokemon on his team when doing a Yanma run. And it comes down to him using Hyper Beam and using it a lot. Because by the time you've set up all of your double teams, he's probably used 1 or 2, and it only takes 2 to take you out. So on the actual successful run, RNG played into our favour and Swagger did its job. If we didn't have Swagger, I genuinely think that this Yanma run would have been completely impossible, even with having double team. Because it's not as broken in Gen 2 as it was in Gen 1, even if you've got full double team set up, it's still possible to hit you. Thankfully here though, we get through the Gyarados without taking any damage, and the rain has stopped, so his water moves are not going to be anywhere near as powerful. Dragonite comes out, we're going to go for Headbutt and see how much damage it does. That's going to be a 3-hit KO. So pretty much every Pokemon we're going to have to rely on Swagger strats. And the more crucial one that it has to work on is going to be the Charizard, because it has Flamethrower. So we need to make sure it doesn't hit us and we take it out as quick as possible. His Dragonites actually aren't too much of a problem. If they're confused, strangely enough, I found that they hit themselves very frequently. So the Dragonites aren't too much of a problem. And next comes out the Aerodactyl. This one is a problem because we don't have any super effective moves against it. In fact, the only move that's going to do neutral damage is Thief, and it's a special move. And that's how much it does. It's going to be a 4-hit KO. So we're going to have to rely on Swagger once again. This is the Swagger Fiend. Yanma is the Swagger Fiend. Its Swagger is unmatched. You could probably tell how tired I am even getting to this point in the run, that my jokes are just getting even more terrible. Thankfully we take down the Charizard, and we're at full HP going into the last Dragonite. Swagger hits, it uses Outrage, and that does a lot of damage, and now he's just going to keep spamming Outrage. So we have to make sure its HP is high and it hits itself in confusion. If we don't, then I think we weren't going to win this, but thankfully Headbutt comes through for us. The move we've had since Ilex Forest helps us win the Elite Four. So that's it. Yanma has become a Hall of Famer. And we managed to do that at level 67 in 7 hours 26 in-game hours, which was ridiculous. But I know what you're thinking. This isn't the end of the video, there's still footage left. And that's because in Gen 2, the post game takes you to Kanto. So let's get started on it. So once you've talked to Professor Elm, he gives you the SS ticket, you go to Olivine, and from there you can enter the region of Kanto. And I could go through every single gym leader, but this video is getting very long for my tastes. So I'm going to show you the 2 most important battles. After battling all the other gym leaders, we're at level 75 going into Blue. And Blue is absolutely no joke. He's the second strongest trainer in the entire game. And beating him is no joke. He's got a very varied team that you have to plan for. But thankfully from going through Kanto, we actually pick up Giga Drain from beating Erica. This means for the first time this entire run, we've got a HP recovery move. A super effective move against the annoying rock and ground types. And we actually have a bit of a chance now to do quite a bit of damage. Annoyingly though, this Arcanine really did not like us this day. Headbutt did not take it out, and he used a full restore, so his confusion's completely gone and he's got increased attack now. And yeah, we're going to lose. So, what actually won us this battle on this attempt? Like for most of the rest of the run, it has been good RNG. The Pidgeot actually uses Swagger on us, so... And we only hit ourselves in confusion once, which isn't the worst thing in the world because the Rhydon's up next. So what we need to do was hit the headbutts, take out the Pidgeot, which thanks to Swagger meant we did a hell of a lot of damage. We can recover against the Rhydon, and from here, this is where the actual attempt gets easier. This is the only attempt as well where I used Swagger and the Pidgeot used Mirror Move, and that was the reason that we won this battle. We Swagger against the Arcanine and it only hits itself in confusion. We've got increased attack, so Headbutt does massive damage and takes out the Arcanine. We've got 3 Pokemon left and we've got the dreaded Gyarados. We're going for the Swagger. It hits itself in confusion. No, it gets the Rain Dance. That's not good. If he hits us as a water move, that's going to be increased damage. But we get the flinch and he uses full restore. I hate the retroactive super potions and full restores in this game. This is what makes it fun though. The more annoying thing is Blue has quite a lot of them. And every time we use Headbutt, it keeps putting him into healing range, but we've managed to take him out. The Executor is next and we still have Thief, but I still think Headbutt's going to do more damage here. Egg Bomb is not the worst to have hit us, but we're going into the final Pokemon here without full HP, and it's Alakazam. We are speedier than it, and Alakazam's got terrible defense, so it is a one-hit KO and we beat Blue. This didn't take us many tries as trying to beat Claire, but it still took us a lot of tries to be able to do this. And that only leaves one trainer. The hardest, probably one of the hardest battles in all of Pokemon, we're going against Red. And he starts with a level 81 Pikachu who has super effective moves against us. But one Swagger, one Headbutt takes it out. And we move on to the Charizard. Red's got interesting AI, so whatever Pokemon you've got, his second Pokemon will be sent out to counter it. So considering we're very weak to fire Pokemon, that's why he sends out Charizard next. It's very reactive in this generation, that's why I quite like this generation. But because of the Swagger, we actually managed to get through. And next up is Blastoise. Swagger is going to confuse it. It's the most reliable strategy we've had the whole entire run. And we've got Giga Drain to do massive damage and get any HP back in case he actually does hit us. But his AI will always try and sell Rain Dance, which isn't the greatest thing. Next up is the Snorlax, and this is an absolute beast. I would say this is arguably the strongest Pokemon on his team because of its defenses. And just see that Headbutt just did nothing to it. Hitting itself with Confusion arguably does a lot more. So what we've got to hope for is it hits itself with Confusion, but as you can see here, this is the strength of Snorlax. One body slam took us out. Yes, it had been increased by Swagger. If we hadn't increased its attack, it probably wouldn't have done very much. Maybe about half health, but because we had to use Swagger to get past it, yeah, we can't. That's the double-edged sword of Swagger. So the actual successful attempt, as you're going to see here, the same strat against the Pikachu worked. Next up is the Charizard. Swagger is going to hit, and he's going to hit himself with Confusion, which is great. That's a great start. I'm going to use Headbutt, and we're just over about half HP. So one more Headbutt's going to take it out, and we're comfortably moving into the Blastoise with full HP. This was my best attempt, and this came again down to quite a lot of RNG. I don't think I realised how much RNG this generation would require you. But Giga Drain does massive damage and gets a critical hit, and he takes himself out in confusion. That's a great result. 3 Pokemon down, no HP lost. Next up's Snorlax, and this was the run ender on pretty much every attempt against Red. He uses Amnesia, which is fine because we're using physical attacks. Hits himself Confusion, he's down to just about half health. We don't want him to use Rest. We get the flinch at a very crucial time. We've got through 4 Pokemon now without losing any HP. The Venusaur comes out. This is arguably the easiest one out of all of his Pokemon for Yanma. And he sets up Sunny Day. So that means he's going to try and go for the Solar Beams. So we need to flinch. We get a critical hit. Solar Beam connects, but it doesn't do that much damage really. I'm quite comfortable with that. I accidentally used Giga Drain just to get a little bit of HP back, and he hits himself Confusion. That little bit of HP might be crucial though against the Espeon. It's not super effective against us, but it's not an easy Pokemon. So we set up Swagger, hits himself Confusion, and now we're going to go for Thief. This is the whole reason we kept Thief for so long. It's the only super effective move we would have against the Espeon, and we've got to go for the hit. We've got to go for the win here. Headbutt takes it out, and Yanma has defeated Red with no items on its own. I was so surprised. And I was so exhausted after this run. I was so mentally exhausted of playing as Yanma. But that's it. Yanma has completed the game. We've managed to do the game with a Yanma at level 88. And these are its stats. So level 88, and this was the moveset that won us the win. That got us the win. So yeah. And this is the end of the video. This is the end of the very first run in Gold and Silver. Thank you guys for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Please like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.